This 2-inch front leveling kit is for the 2007 and newer Toyota Tundra owners, excluding those TRD Pro models, looking for one of the easiest and most affordable ways to get some additional height on the front of their truck. Now this is perfect for the Tundra owners who are looking for a mild height increase to fit in a bigger tire, eliminate the factory rake on the front end, and increase the front end ground clearance, resulting in a better appearance for the daily driver and a little bump in performance if you do any light off-roading. With the increase in the function and the height here, this is a simple kit that is completely bolt-on if you don't want the additional hassle of digging into your suspension or your current setup is in good shape. You just need that extra height. This set of spacers here bolts right to the top of your front strut and adds about 2 inches of additional height without needing to swap any of your factory or current components out, so it maintains your current ride. Now the additional 2 inches allows for up to a 33-inch tire inside the wheel well on both the 2nd and 3rd gen Tundras, with room to articulate in the front, so you're not going to have any rubbing or interference or any need for modification. The additional ground clearance is also helpful on and off-road, with extra room underneath the front bumper, helping you clear obstacles much easier than before to avoid damage and increase the maneuverability of your truck. Now the most visual benefit though is the appearance that this offers, creating a more defined stance to the truck, adding some aggressiveness and style to your build. These spacers are made of a billet aluminum construction, being tough and rust resistant, and they do have a black coating on top that helps the spacer blend into your suspension while also protecting the aluminum here from any corrosion. Now I do want to call out that this does not measure true to exactly 2 inches, so keep that in mind when you take this out of the box. It measures to about 1.25 inches tall, but the spring compression and the suspension geometry combined with this spacer allow for that 2-inch height increase. Now the bolts and all of the hardware are also included in the kit, and again, this is completely bolt-on for a straightforward installation process. This kit comes in at about $100, making this a super affordable solution to height on your Tundra. Now this keeps the height increase fairly mild, keeps it to the front for the Tundra owner just looking to even out their stance on the truck, and keeps it very simple compared to other more complicated solutions. Now I think if you want the additional vanity and the function that something like a leveling kit brings to the table, and you also want to keep it very budget friendly while doing it, then this is going to be a solid pick for you. Install is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and if you've got the right tools and setup, it should only take about 2 hours or so. I do also highly recommend getting in alignment after the installation. Because you are lifting the truck, you are going to be throwing off some of those suspension angles, so for proper wear and proper performance, I highly recommend an alignment when this is complete. However, at this point, I am going to hand it over to one of our installers here. They're going to show you a bolt-by-bolt breakdown on how this installs on the Tundra, whether you are tackling this project yourself or you're just curious about the install process. So that wraps it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into it.
For this install, you need a 1/2-inch impact and 3/8 ratchet, 3/8 extension and 1/2-inch extension, 22, 19, 16, and 14 millimeter socket, 15 16ths, 7/8, and 14 millimeter wrench, a mallet, and a pry bar, and also not shown be a lift and pull jack. All right, today we're gonna be installing a leveling kit on our Tundra. So let's get started. All right, so we're gonna start off by disconnecting our ball joint so we can swing down our lower control arm. So we have our 2 bolts here. We're gonna grab our impact and 22 millimeter socket, take those 2 out. All right, now we're gonna switch to our 19 millimeter socket. We're gonna take our bottom bolt out of our sway bar link and our top nut so we can remove the whole link together. Now you may need to use a couple pry bars just to get this out. So you have that out of the way, you can take the whole thing off. Next we have our bolt for the lower strut mount here. Now I have a 7/8 wrench to hold the nut, and I have my impact extension and a 22 millimeter socket to take this off. Grab our bolt and washer. I'm sorry, nut and washer. Now we just need to swing down our lower control arm just to get us enough room. We're just gonna loosen up our eccentric bolts. So we have our 15/16 wrench. We're gonna loosen up our nuts. Now if you need just a little bit more leverage, just gonna grab this other wrench. Come towards me. Same thing over here. Should give us enough to pull this down. Swing that out of the way. Now we're gonna remove our entire strut assembly. We have our 14mm ratcheting wrench. Go ahead and break these loose. We can go ahead and spin these off. Make sure you're supporting the strut while we take this last one off. And we can remove it out of the truck completely. All right, now before we install our spacer, we're just gonna make sure that we locate it right. Now I just have a couple spare bolts with some nuts just to help hold in our mounting points for our locations. Since we have bolts that are gonna go down now, it's a little harder to locate. Now we're just gonna put this up here, make sure everything lines up. You'll notice that this only goes in one way. All the studs will not line up. So you're just gonna make sure, take note of the logo, find where it lines up, and you'll see that it's gonna be pointed that direction. So now when we mount this onto our strut, we know where our strut needs to be mounted. Then we're gonna grab our factory strut, we're gonna get our spacer, slide it over top. Now some of these you may need to trim to the top of the stud here. We don't want ours, it sits nice and flush. We're gonna grab our factory nuts, thread them on. We're gonna grab our ratchet and 14mm socket and tighten those down. All right, now we can go ahead and get this in our truck. All right, so now we're gonna feed our strut up through the bottom here. Just remember where our logo needs to go. And go ahead, grab our bolts. Now we have our bolts with our lock washer and flat washer. Get one of those started. Definitely would be easier with a second set of hands. We'll get one started and then get the rest of them started. All right, we'll thread the other two in. Grab our ratchet with our 16mm socket and go ahead and tighten all four of those down. All right, so as you can see, the bottom of our strut is a little off center. So what we're gonna do is gonna grab our long extension. You can grab something else, a pipe, whatever, something that fits in there. Just gonna go ahead and just twist this. Oh, it's definitely easy. Said easier than done. All right, as you see, I got this turned. I just had to use a little bit more leverage with the extension. I actually used my floor jack handle just to get that extra leverage. We're gonna use our pole jack, jack our lower control arm up into place. Now it is not perfectly centered, so it's gonna take a little bit more manipulation, but we'll get this up in place. A little pass there, so we'll bring it down. Gonna use that extension just to help line everything up. Get our bolt through, grab the mallet, just tap it through. Thread our washer and nut on. You just go ahead and leave that for right now. We're gonna get our ball joint bolts in. All right, now we have this lower control arm jacked up as much as we can. Good thing these bolts are nice and long. So we'll go ahead and just get them started. Just wanna make sure that you do not cross thread these. Get my 22mm socket, get that started a little bit better. That one started. We'll grab our impact, extension, and 22mm socket and tighten them both down. All right, we're gonna use the same impact, extension, and 22mm socket, grab our 7/8 wrench, and tighten our strut bolt. All right, last thing we need to do over here is put our sway bar link back on. So we're gonna get that started in our bar. We'll thread our nut on, just a couple threads to help hold it in there. Now this bar is very thick and doesn't really want to move that well. We'll get that started. Go ahead, grab your hammer and tap that on. Get our bolt started. Switch over to our impact and 19mm socket and go ahead and tighten those two down. That's spinning on the back there. We're just gonna get a pry bar behind, just get a little tension on it. All right, last thing we need to do is just tighten down our eccentric bolts. We're gonna grab our 15/16 wrench and just snug that back up. Now you are gonna need an alignment after this, so it's not gonna be crazy if they moved a little bit. Just tighten both sides up and you'll be all done. All right, now that you have this side all tightened up, you can go ahead and repeat all those same steps on the other side of the truck. And that wraps up our install of our 2-inch front leveling kit for our 2007 and newer Tundra, excluding the TRD Pro. And remember, for everything Tundra, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.